okay, back to this. If we have a plan, we need to know how it's implemented, and we need to keep everyone safe. And that means we need to keep the students safe, and that means we have to keep the other students safe. So this is those times when we need to be thinking about primarily getting our class out of harm's way, and then we need to make sure that someone is with that other student to keep that student safe as well. For phase 6, the de-escalation phase, now we're beginning to come back down off of that peak. So the students in this phase are going to be confused, they're going to be disoriented, and they're going to be far less agitated. Students could, at this phase, deny responsibility, they could blame others, and they could try to reconcile. So this is when they're beginning to feel better, but obviously they're not, because they're still going to be a little out of sorts, we'll say. This would not be the time to necessarily engage in conversations. That conversation does need to happen, but it should not happen necessarily in the de-escalation phase. You're obviously going to be trying to get them to comply with your requests, and you're going to be using de-escalation strategies, but we're not quite at that time to have a conversation with them. Phase 7, the recovery phase, is students are now generally subdued. Teachers, this is something that we often incorrectly think, that they will re-trigger the behavior by discussing what happened, which is not going to be true. Matter of fact, you have to talk to the kids about what happened. If we don't talk to the kids about what happened, they could see that as an opportunity that they got away with the behavior. So we're not going to set them off again, but they need to understand that what they did was wrong, and you need to talk about interventions and strategies of how to avoid this from happening again. And a really good way to ensure that that happens is by involving the student in those conversations. So debriefing is a necessary part of the recovery phase. One of the most important things in all of this phase, is to reduce the energy in the room and of the student, and to restore the student and the room back to being calm and focused and on task. So it is important to be careful and to be thoughtful about what you're doing with students and what you're saying to them, because you don't want to potentially be the reason that a student has to go through this phase. So ultimately, try to prevent behaviors from occurring. And when it comes to students' behaviors, kind of like special education, what that looks like for each individual kid could potentially be different, and that's okay, because we need to meet these kids where they're at. And when we don't do that is when we run the risk of going through this phase and things become very difficult. So it's that thought process of being proactive instead of reactive. Alright guys, this is the end. Thank you so much for watching my presentation. I hope that it was informative. If you have any questions, I'm sure there's going to be a comment section or a place when we can talk to one another. Ask away, and I will do my best to answer those questions. So again, thank you, and have a good rest of the day. And I guess we only have 2 more weeks of class, so that's good. All right, see ya.